Hello, my name is Alan, and tonight I'm facilitating the fifth and final session of a series of Eotenweard. This is my PBTA game in development of Dark Age heroes protecting the innocent from the supernatural. If you want to know more about it, then by all means, follow the rest of this series. This game is organised as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly calendar. If you want to know about Gauntlet, then again, I would suggest you have a good look at the intro to session 1 of this series, or search Gauntlet-RPG. But I will say that if you want to try playing with the Gauntlet for free and for nothing, then on the 25th to 28th of February is the first Gauntlet Open Gaming Weekend of this year. Community Open Gaming Weekend this year, and we'd love to have you come and try out playing with the Gauntlet. Mostly indie story narrative, relatively mechanically light games, though I think we still have a series of Star Trek running, Star Trek Adventures, and a thinned down version of Night's Black Agents. So do come and try us out. What else do I have to say? We're playing with safety tools, X-Card, lines, veils. I've played with all these players. They've been in the series. They know how that works. Again, listen to session 1 if you'd like to know more about how we try to ensure a positive table culture on the Gauntlet. So with all that in mind, I will finish by saying my pronouns are he, him, and I'll ask the players to introduce themselves and tell us something about the characters that they are playing. So let's start. Greg, say hello and tell us something about Hild the Outlaw.
Yeah, so I'm doing Hild the Outlaw. She is a pagan Saxon, I believe. And yeah, so she is kind of on the outskirts of society, kind of accepted by this group. And she was involved, she was hired by Bardawolf to kill his old wife for him. And she was, turns out she was one of the few people who really accepted Hild. And yeah, she died. And so and Woden has come back telling Hild she has to make it right, and she was extremely confused.
But it must be said, has developed a relatively close relationship with some ravens, if
Yes.
not with Woden directly. And yeah, Bardwulf is the lord of the settlement that we have based this series around, and it is, I guess, that the question of how you settle that still maybe remains open. Okay, moving along. Then Will, say hello. Tell us
Hi.
about Cennus, the Sword of God.
Yes, Cennus, the Sword of God, pronouns he, him. Cennus is trying to help Hild see the light and atone for her ways, and to show, all that godliness and piousness and, holier than thou stick. Certainly is persistent with Cennus. And as of last session, I advanced and gained the move Divine Intervention, so perhaps I will be slightly closer to God this session.
Yeah, because God has played a dubious role in this. And it's interesting that while you have been trying to bring Hild to Christ, you have ended up owing Woden a debt.
Yes.
The strange way things fall. Let's move along. Tyler, say hello and tell us about Gildas the Fae Changeling.
Hi there, I'm Tyler, he, him pronouns, and I am playing Gildas the Fae Changeling, who is owes to a dark Fae Lord quite a bit that we have been encountering, and seems to be a whole bunch of the problems we're having here. And I now owe to his ex-wife, who he is another Fae noble, just so much mixing up of things. But I do magic-y bits, and I'm a terrifying Fae warrior, and it's been tons of fun.
Yes, it certainly has. Sawyer, say hello and introduce us to Eadric the Commoner.
Hello, I am Sawyer, also known as Ferret. I use any pronouns, and I am playing Eadric, who uses he, him. He has had Chekhov's chicken until last session, which it put her up as a hostage for that debt. And I think he's the only one in the party who has not told Hild some kind of nebulous way she needs to repent for her sins. And other than that, he is at a loss for they must finish up what is held up at the settlement, and we'll see how that goes.
Yes, we will. In previously on Eotenweard, we will see that last scene where the Fae Lady, in effect, held an unquiet spirit, the unquiet spirit of Quenthrith, the former wife of the local lord that Hild, depending on which vision you believe, tried to save and accidentally killed or killed by pushing her off a ravine, into a ravine. And the Fae Lady held her spirit to ransom, saying that she would release the spirit from the duty she had placed upon Quenthrith's ghost if you each were prepared to owe her a debt. And in fairness, you did indeed offer to owe her a debt. And so she tells you that she has released Quenthrith. So that's previously on Eotenweard. And then I think we will cut to, because that was in the middle of the day, I think, by the time you got to talk to the Fae Lady. But it is probably dusk by the time that you emerge from the haunted hill fort, which appears to be where her fairy hall is. So it's dusk. You're making your way back down through those dark and haunted winter woods to the lights of the settlement below. Hild, what are you doing as we see you making your way back to the settlement?
Hild, we'll say that there's like fewer ravens around her. Signifying that maybe she's on the right path. She put the Quenneth's soul to rest, and so she's kind of quiet, and she's kind of trying to steel herself that she's entertaining the idea of taking responsibility for her actions. Regardless of, she's just kind of like, it doesn't matter what happened. If I wasn't up there, she wouldn't be dead. And so she's.
Oh wow, that's quite a move, I would suggest.
She's entertaining the concept, right? It's quiet, and she's just. I think it was actually, she cares very much for Quenneth. Or Quenneth, or was the one person who was nice to her. So, yeah. So that's what she's. And we'll say, oh, go on.
Is that an internal monologue, or is that being spoken out loud to one of the characters?
We'll say it's an internal monologue, but she will say, I want to see Bardawolf. And so she just kind of, in a very kind of, it's very quiet, and then she'll just be like, I want to see Bardawolf. Very, very, very assertively. No one, people don't know where that came from, sort of deal.
Let me go to Cennus, because Cennus has throughout this been concerned that, in a way, it seems to me that you've been almost distracted from the question of Bardawolf. Is that fair? So what's your reaction when Hild, just, I want to see that?
I think it's I don't think this is a time for words in this episode of Eotenweard. I think this is just a sort of like a meaningful, like hand on the shoulder and nod. You're muted, but yes.
Yes, you get the drift. Close up on Cennus's hard eyes.
I smell Woden on you.
Those bloody ravens. Eadric, what do we see of you? I mean, I want to know how you're feeling about, the chicken is under that hill.
Yeah, I think it's that there's a close up of Kiss's eyes, and we cut to Eadric, and if it was a modern day thing, it'd be that song from Donnie Darko, and he just he looks down, and I think hearing Hild be so reckless makes him look up, and he just squints like, do you now wish to make right what you did against Quinthrith?
Hey. She's just kind of like, I'm sorry you lost your chicken.
Deny all you will. Deny responsibility as much as you want. I know what I saw.
Wait, what did you see?
I saw Quinthrith's final moments at your hands, you murderess.
Yeah.
And I think almost inevitably there we'll get a cut scene, which again shows us the Hildo-centric positive view of this accident, and then what Eadric saw, which was a less Hild positive view of what happened. Gildas, do we see any reaction from you?
I'll look at the three of them. It would seem, for the most part, we have done our duty here. Everything from this point will be rather personal, I suppose. What is it that you intend, Hild?
Bardawulf is he's a bad man.
Agreed.
But what you're Fae. Why are you going back to the settlement? Do you have another woman you need to impregnate?
Just the one will do, but I wouldn't leave my boon companions all alone. You would almost certainly be lost without me.
And she just kind of maybe puts Cennus between the rest of the people and herself.
Cennus, is vengeance on your mind as well?
Vengeance? For who? I have not been wronged, Gildas.
Then retribution.
Justice.
Ah.
And he has killed one wife. Why not a second? All young women lose their looks. All old men crave more. And if he is to find himself a cuckold, where do you think his wrath will fall? One who has sinned against all gods should face justice, one way or the other.
Eadric, are you in alignment with these two and their purpose?
I believe that Bardawulf does not deserve to rule a house, much less a settlement.
I have to think, when we bring these charges against the Lord here, that there will be, let us say, some unpleasantness. How do we intend to deal with that, Cennus? Do you intend to slay the entire household?
So, the ghost of Gwynthryth, right, is linked to the Moonstone amulet. Is that correct? Or
Quenthrith was bound to the earth, to this life, because she was supposed to retrieve the Moonstone for the Fae Lady, who she, in some way, we don't know the details, served. She's released her because she has debts from you four. It remains an interesting question about the fact that Gildas's lord has a moonstone that used to belong to the Fae Lady.
Okay. Hild must own her own actions and he must own his. And perhaps if we could have one last word from Gwynthryth before she parts the veil. But I leave that to you. I would leave that with you, Gildas.
It is conceivable that she may have something left to say, or perhaps something to be said in her place. I hope that she has traveled on, but her memory may reside a bit. If you wish, I can level her accusations for her.
We will see, Gildas. But I feel it's Hild's place to step forward here.
I agree.
You can bring her back for one last moment.
I doubt it. If she has grown on to her reward, she is beyond my reach. But I can become her and level her accusations.
Wow.
Yes, I like this.
Good.
Okay, let's cut to you now approaching the gate in the stockade around this small town settlement of several hundred people. And I get Gildas, are you visible, so to speak? Are you keeping your head down as you approach the gate guards?
I mean, my intent is to, once they get to the hall, to try and hang back. That way I could make an entrance as her if needed.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I may have to do so. I don't know how sneaky I am to get through the gate, but
okay. No, I just wanted to check because this would therefore seem to be an appropriate time for us to test whether you are seeming human.
Yeah, let's do it.
So roll plus soul.
It would be the time for me to be run out with pitchforks, wouldn't it? Right here at the end. All right. So, get myself a couple of dice, bring them down here, and let's see how they do. Oh, no. That's a 14.
Oh, well, that's probably okay then. Your outward appearance is seamlessly maintained. No one sees any hint of your true form. And what you will notice, the four of you, as you pass through the gate, is there's a group of men outside, warriors outside the hall. Lit by the doors are open and the light from the hall is spilling out to illuminate perhaps half a dozen or more armed and armored warriors.
Have we seen these warriors before? Are they part of the household?
They do not appear to be part of the household. You're surprised if they are part of the household, in as much as you would have expected everyone to be present for the wedding feast, and they weren't there for the wedding feast. So that would suggest that they are from outside, beyond the settlement.
Cennus, it would appear we have a complication, perhaps.
God sends his tests.
Such the philosopher.
Oh yes.
But yeah, so I mean, it looks like they've just arrived.
Can I look about? I'd like to cast a trained eye over these fighting men.
Yeah, by all means. Roll plus sense.
Plus steel, thanks to my
because
wily,
of your move. Yeah.
Which is a 13.
Oh, you're just going to make life so difficult for me today. So you get to ask me 2 questions about anything in the scene, or you can add a detail that enriches the fiction, or ask me to do so.
Okay. Who are these people?
Well, I've described the basic information is that they are Saxon warriors. And I think that probably what will happen is one of the gate guards will see you casting an appraising look over these and say, they are, it is my lord's nephew and his men.
That is a complication. Okay. A detail to add to the scene that enriches a fiction, that when we're nephew, they are Gwynfrith's blood, not Bardwolf's blood.
Oh, right.
Damn.
Nephew-in-law. What a very swerve that dodgy ball. Very cool. Okay, so it is Godfred, Bardwolf's nephew-in-law. And so do you approach Hild? And you wanted to see Bardwolf. He's up there welcoming his nephew.
And what form is Gildas in?
Gildas is looking as thoroughly human as he ever does. That that thick mop of red hair, that pale skin, but there's no
but not
hint.
Gwyneth. He doesn't look like Gwyneth,
No,
not yet.
No.
And I may be pulling up my cloak and hood to try and be a little less obvious, sneaky a little, just so I can make a grand entrance as I can't just walk in there as her.
Gotcha. Cennus, make a distraction so I can sneak behind Bardwolf and put an end to this.
Hild, you'll be cut down in seconds. This is not the way.
Should I do it? Can we get him alone tonight?
I believe if we don't do anything hasty, we can have several more options. That could be one of them.
Perhaps you will have to use your words, Hild.
We're dead.
And Hild, you will see a raven. It settles on an eave just ahead of you, and the raven looks at you in a way that you suddenly can't see the other eye. It's one beady eye is looking at you, and you get a sense from Woden that trying to put right one dishonorable act with another dishonorable act will not settle scores. So he is going to call in a debt, and that debt
Can I see that in writing?
He's going to call in a debt, and the debt, if you take it, it means that you cannot kill Bardwolf dishonorably.
Okay. Yeah, she'll take that debt, or she'll
Reduce the debt that you owe them.
She'll whatever that word is, pay in the debt. But she sees that and she just starts yelling at the raven. God, why don't you just tell me what you want from me? Why? I don't understand you. God,
And I think that we at that point will see...
You're almost as bad as his god. And she's pointing at Cennus.
We will see in the shadows Eadhelm, the chaste loon, again peering at Hild as if to say, my time here is done. Eadric, what about you? What's your reaction to these developments, if any?
I think Eadric is just going to break from the group and walk up to some of these gathered warriors.
Are you trying to trigger, I just want to be clear, your signature move, Sphere Master I Will?
Not, but I am now.
Because I think that's what we see is during this discussion, this conversation, Hild berating another raven. Eadric has walked the 50 paces towards the center of the village. When you were alone, remind us of your safe and simple life before you received your gift. Describe what you are currently frightened will happen and roll to look about you.
I have a perfect thing of what I'm frightened about, but for the life, I think it's again. I think it's the Eadric, in some kind of court, having stolen some kind of food at a market from some lord's place, and it's and then like we see Cennus coming in to actually stand up for Eadric's good nature. Like that's how the two of them actually met, I think.
That's great.
But I'm afraid that even though it's Quinthrith's nephew, he never liked her very much.
Well, let's have you. Let's have you. Oh, hang on. Have roll to look about you as normal, but on 6-, you can still ask one question. ... So let's just see how good this roll is.
Yes, that is a 5.
Okay. Well, you have one question, which you can indeed turn into the fact that Godfrey never liked his aunt. If you want to. Or do you want to ask me a question?
I think I do want to. I think I think the fear part that's going to come in. I think that he never liked his aunt is going to happen anyway because of the fear.
Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, yes, that is what you're afraid of.
But
yes, of course.
I think what I'm going to add is that they're here because the nephew is picking up his the not dowry, but what he's owed from the aunt's death.
Fine, his inheritance, whatever it might be.
Would that be Weregild? Is that what that was?
Weregild would only be Weregild if somebody knows she was murdered. It was an accident.
And what is Weregild?
It's the way that justice was done by the Saxons. So if you stole from someone or killed them even, you could make it good by paying the injured party.
Gotcha. Okay.
Blood money.
Kind of
blood
thing.
money. Exactly so. So I think what we will see is as you approach two of these warriors, one is saying to the other, I don't know why we had to come. He hated that old bitch. But you can still ask me a question, Eadric, if you want to.
Yeah. Which of these men are I guess who here has Bardwulf wronged the most outside of his of these people come to see him?
I think that he has wronged them all, in as much as his marriage to Quenthrith is how he got most of this land. And therefore they and their lord, the nephew, have a small holding in a much less fertile or prosperous bit of the local region. Does that seem okay?
Yeah.
And that'll be the explanation. The other guy comes back and says, yeah, and him, gesturing to Bardwulf, he only married her for these lands. By which time, Gildas, are you genuinely sticking to the shadows, staying out of the way, or?
Yes, and I'm guessing the hall doesn't have windows, does it? But I do remember having been pulled off kind of around. There is towards kind of a back entrance, isn't there?
There is almost certainly a way in at the back, though that's usually secured from the inside. It's more an escape route than a second way in. The alternative, of course, is the roof, which is thatched. It's quite a high hall, up there it's mostly dark soot and smoke.
Yeah, let's let's see. Eadric has kind of moved away. Hild and Cennus still with me, I'll look to the two of them. I'm going to try to find somewhere I can get a better perch. When the need arises, I will be with you.
Never had any doubt, Gildas.
I tell you what we'll do. We'll worry about whether you get up onto that roof when it becomes significant that you did or didn't get up on the roof. So, you know, narratively, you're going to be on the roof, but we'll worry how well or badly that goes at a more significant moment than now. So, Hild, you finished arguing with the raven because the raven flies away, outlined against the moon, of course. And Cennus, you are proceeding towards the hall?
Well, we're at dusk, right? It's
Yes.
late, so I imagine Godfred and his people will be staying the night in the Lord's Hall. And
They've just arrived, so they're obviously expecting hospitality.
yeah, in hospitality, you know, we've said the name of the of the show in the show. But so I think that basically I am here to back Hild and to see this crime brought to light in front of the people and God, you know. And it seems as though we'll all be here tonight for the under hospitality in the town, again, as so many of our confrontations have been, is Badwolf's never had a peaceful night since we arrived. But so I'm assuming that Madog will be around in those things for me to call him that
I think
needed.
we'll see Madog, on Bardwolf's shoulder, greeting Godfred.
Yes. So let me have a quick look at the settlement. I can't think of anybody other significant that I would want to sort of persuade or speak to be amiable to me that I don't see me convincing. Ooh, Elfgar, the aging priest of Woden, perhaps.
Again, he's probably at the threshold of the hall welcoming the visitors.
You know, I think I could do all of this in the moment of the confrontation, you know, so yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy. Cennus is simply awaiting to, you know, for the moment.
Fine. So Eadric, do you want to do anything else in those moments before Cennus and Hild arrive?
I want to basically blend in as a commoner. Just I want to use basically use my reputation as a no one to keep my head down.
Yeah, fine. And I think as you know, the greetings are done, and Godfrey is being ushered into the hall by Bardwolf. Madog is arranging with his warriors to, you know, put to one side the spears and axes of the visitors as they enter the hall, because they won't need them in there because the rules of hospitality mean you don't. And I guess you just drift into the hall on the back of that. And so you'll be wherever you want to be in the hall, I think, because no one's going to pay you any attention. You're quite right. Somebody will probably give you a jug of ale to start serving. And that gives me time for Cennus and Hild to arrive, just as Madog is seeing the last of the warriors in. Do you want any interaction with Madog, Cennus?
I think just a quiet word with him, you know, as a warm clasp of hands, and I'll say, we have the work is done, Madog. We have laid Gwenthur to rest. But
and his face lights up. Well, that is a tale for the telling.
Yes,
but perhaps
it is indeed.
Not in front of the woman's nephew.
Perhaps, Madog. But I know that you love your niece, and I fear you must hear this tale. And perhaps I will, you know, I'll be telling him as we walk away off into the side, you know.
Hild, that conversation with Madog is going on. And so are you trying to get into the hall without having to give up a weapon? Or are you prepared to go through the formalities?
Well, what I was thinking is, at some point I wanted to, what is it? Blend in, but talk with these other warriors.
Okay. Okay. I don't think that'll be difficult.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume that you give up anything but your knife at the door.
She'll keep a knife on her. She won't give
Yeah,
up
yeah,
her knife.
and you don't need to roll for that because I think they'll be seated down one side, and there'll be a bit of space around them because they're the strangers, and I think Hild, being Hild, will happily slide in to the bench beside one of them.
Yeah.
So what do you go on?
Hild's interest is to dig up dirt on Bardawolf. She's suspicious of him and feels like there's more bodies buried around him.
Well, I suppose that the simple way for that to do is for you to tell me what you find out, but that would seem to be a look about you.
Okay, let's do that.
Because then, if you do well enough, you can create a narrative detail around that. Does that seem the sensible way?
Sounds good. Roll plus sense. Oh, 12.
I mean, this is just getting silly now.
Yeah.
On a 12 plus, you will roll with advantage if you then act on any answers you receive. Now, if you've got 2 questions, so you could spend one of them to create a narrative detail around Bardawolf's skeletons, and still have a question to ask that would give you advantage if you acted on the answer. So.
Wait. Oh, ask 2 questions, or. I'm sorry, I blanked out for a second.
You think of it as whole 2.
Yep.
And you can spend those 2 on any combination of questions or narrative detail.
Gotcha. Okay.
The advantage of asking a question with a 12 is that if you act on it, you will act with advantage.
Yeah. Okay. The narrative detail will be Bardawolf had tried to hire somebody to kill his wife in a more subtle way. And we'll say I was the sloppy seconds kind of thing.
Oh, what if he tried to hire Gottfried? What if he tried to come to an arrangement with Gottfried that in return for some land, his aunt could have an accident when next she visited him? Yeah?
Sounds good.
Okay. So Bardwolf tried to recruit Gottfried into this scheme before he came to you. And then do you want to ask a question? The answer of which might give you advantage if you acted on it.
Yeah. My question is, oh man, let me think. Okay. Question.
Well, look, I'll come back round. It's not a problem.
Good.
Not a problem. Sounds good. Eadric, remind me to come round because I might forget. Eadric, you've blended in with the servants and the slaves who are serving the visitors and the Lord and is those closest to him. What do we see you doing? What do you want to do?
I think we end up seeing. I think there's this very tense moment as he's getting close to Bardawolf, but then immediately passes behind him and pours some ale in Sidwill's cup. And I think I'm going to call in my debt. Oh, so if you call in a debt, you get to ask them to do some stuff. So what are you wanting to do? I think there's he's slowly pouring the ale to be very give him some time, but he's going to let her know that. I think we'll see Sidwill notice that this, because she, you're just an invisible servant. She sees the wine is being poured really quickly, and she turns to you as if to say, what
Why are you spending? And then she sees it's you, so you've got eye contact. What do you want to do with it?
And just basically, she was put to rest. I don't want to have to do this for you. If be on our side if your husband, if anything comes. I want her to be on our side if her husband gets called out.
Okay, so I think maybe the way to do that is that that you call her debt and tell her she mustn't defend her husband.
Correct. Yes.
Fair enough. Right.
Yeah.
Get rid of the debt. She will not defend her husband physically or rhetorically. Okay. So we know what Hild's doing. We know what Eadric's doing. Cennus, you went in with Madog.
Yeah.
And Madog will go to sit at the top. So the top table, if you will, is Bardwulf and Sidwell. On the other side of Bardwulf is Godfred. And on the other side of Sidwell is her uncle Madog. And if you want to, you could be sitting near the top table at that end of the benches, so to speak.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. I was hoping to pray.
So let us do your start of session move. Enemy of God.
Yes.
Let's see if the Christ God is finally listening.
Oh, God, I hope he is. Something I did for God in the past that I considered dishonorable. I mean, I turned the other cheek. I allowed an insult to me to go unrevenged. Someone who I had a blood feud with back before I swore myself to God, and I turned away from it because it was not a just one. It was over this kind of nonsense,
Fair enough.
Boxcars.
It's going to be like that, is it?
Yes, good. But you do have another opportunity because this feels like the time to do both of them. So I have a divine intervention once per session. I pray for God's aid.
Let's just work through this one to start with. On 7+, you hold one, so I'll put a tick in that box to show that you're holding one, and I'll tick that one just to make sure we've done the seeming human. To say how a vision identifies, when you spend it, you can say how the vision identifies an enemy of God. Mm-hmm. And then what you want to do is?
I'm praying for divine intervention as well. I pray for God's aid in this matter. I roll plus soul, and on a 10, we'll see how badly I do with that one because I'm not as good at soul as I am at steel. But it's an 11, so
is
I'm
that
nearly
a
as good. Yeah.
Is that a fact? So on a 10+, hold 2. And you could spend these now or later in the session to be somewhere important when you need to be, gain advantage, which can be passed to another PC, or warn someone about a surprise attack when it happens so that they can act first. So you've got 2 of those to play with tonight.
Yeah, finally I've got God stacking the deck in my favor tonight. Yeah.
And I think because we're getting close to when we might take a break, I think I want to go to Gildas. And I do want to know whether you fall through the thatch.
Alrighty.
Because you've clambered up, and I imagine you kind of just making a hole in the thatch so you can see what's going on inside there, and maybe spot a rafter where you might then perch. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. That's it. It's up there amongst the smoke.
Okay. But that seems to me to be face danger, and I'm struggling to see a way to do this other than with the, steel.
With steel? Oh, okay.
Your physical.
Not subtle?
Because subtle is more about subtle argument, to be honest.
Oh, it's not being sneaky. I got you.
Yeah. So I think that steel is the closest we got to a single physical stat. So I think go with steel.
Okie dokie.
I mean, Tyler, if that changes what you would have done.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Well, that's an 11.
That includes the -1. Okay.
That includes the -1.
So that goes swimmingly. Yeah. You do it. You are in the roof wherever you want to be, whenever you want to be.
And I have made like a small hole, or a hole big enough for me in the thatch. And I did kind of leave my spear outside somewhere. It's not with me or any of that.
Okay. Probably just, secured in the thatch on a roll of 11. So it feels like we are set up for something to happen in the hall. So let's make it, shall we make it till 5 past the hour? Okay, I'll see you at 5 past the hour. I will pause the recording.
Yeah. So
Okay,
the question.
We're back after our break. So you had a question, Hild.
Yeah. So the question for my last move is, so what it is Bardawolf put out feelers to see if this nephew would kill his aunt for him. And my question is, what does this nephew want of Bardawolf's?
Okay, what Godfred wants, his warrior tells you, is he wants the family's land back.
Mm-hmm.
Because what my lord told me was that Bardwolf offered him some land if his aunt would have an accident when next she visited him.
Yeah.
And while my lord has, didn't love his aunt because she married this man and took the family's land with her, he disliked Bardwolf more. So he didn't go along with it. And then he says, she died anyway. But no, so my lord has come to claim what is his right. Whatever, when the family, when she came not just with the land, which is now Bardwolf's, but she came with a dowry. And so my lord has come to take back the equivalent of the family's goods, if you will. Okay. So Hild, I feel like I have to start with. Oh well, no. Let me start with Eadric, because you've convinced, you've bought Hild Sidwell's kind of neutrality on this, on whatever might unfold. Where do we see you go then, having served her the wine? Mead, probably.
I think it. Well, everyone in the team has told Hild this, so I think it is Eadric's turn with filling Hild's cup, looking up at Bardawolf, catching the last scant few glimmers of conversation. You must make this right.
Yes, you are right. And she takes a swig. She throws, but she just guzzles down a whole thing of wine. Maybe some comes, she doesn't have the table manners. And then she's like, puts the cup out again for more.
You will fill it again?
Yeah. And then he, yeah, actually I was just thinking what I was going to have Hilda do. And wait a second, let me think. So yeah, what Hild does is, Hild feels that Woden will make this right. And we'll say that some ravens got in when Gildas was getting into the hall. So there's a couple of ravens. And so she stands up. And so let's see. So she'll stand up and she looks at Bardawolf, and he owes her a debt for the thing that maybe she did or didn't do. Funny how that works.
Which he thinks she did.
Yeah. But yeah, close enough, right? Close enough. She did. So she gets up and then she looks at where is it? Who's the Alfgar or something?
The aging priest of Woden.
Yeah. And so what she declares though is she says, this man is not fit to be married. Woden declares it and points at Bardawolf.
And are you you're calling in a debt on Bardwolf?
No. She's just doing that. I'm just saying she looks at Bardwolf, and my guess is he's always kind of suspicious about her, right? It's like a time bomb, right? Like,
okay.
so
Well,
she just stares him down. She just stares him down.
I think that the only way to determine whether there is indeed a sign from Woden that Aelfgar can step up to is to have you roll to face danger with soul.
Oh, you mean the thing I'm no good at?
I would like.
Oh, 0. It's a 0.
I would like to give advantage with my divine intervention.
So you're spending one of those divine intervention advantages to have the Christ God nudge Woden.
Yeah.
You know,
so the Christ
in
God
this they are
working
agreed.
For Woden.
Mm.
So the Christ
I take
God
it back.
takes order
I take it
from
back.
Woden.
I take it back. I take it back. I take it back, Hild. No. No.
Sorry. Let me. It's perfectly legitimate to spend the benefit of because maybe the Christ God makes the ravens do this stuff.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, I like to think of it as they both want a wife killer dead, right?
Okay, so I think spend that advantage, roll with 3 dice, Hill, take the top 2, and add your soul.
Yeah, soul is 0, so an 11. All of a sudden, Hill turns into this like a few good men, you know. I want the truth.
And tell me, what do these 2 ravens, which we will probably have seen hop into the gap after Gildas has gone away, gone into the rafters. We've seen these 2 ravens. What do the ravens do that is going to get Aelfgar say, Woden is speaking? What do we see them do?
I want to say that they come back. So we'll say that woman. We'll say they come back with the necklace that the previous wife once
was wearing. When she died.
We'll say it's also a family heirloom on her side.
So they come down, and where do they take this? This this belonged to Quenthrith.
I think they give it to the nephew.
Oh, right. So they land on the table on the bench in front of Godfred and drop it on his plate. Mm-hmm. And Aelfgar stands up and says, Woden's birds have come. They heard this woman's cry, and Woden has given us a sign. What is it you say, Hild the stranger? And the hall is silent.
She sits there, and she kind of looks at the birds for guidance, and obviously they don't do anything. And she says, and then she looks at the wife to be, and says, "Be careful that Bardwolf doesn't have you killed as well."
And then there's uproar. Eadric, one of the ravens, when there's uproar and the ravens, they scatter. The pair of them just disappear. But then one of them lands on your shoulder. And you hear a voice in your ear, and it says, "Protect the woman. She is not safe. Will you do as Woden requests?"
Oh, most definitely.
So you can remove one of the debts that you owe Woden, the Saxon gods, and I think we probably see you moving around the back of the hall again with your jug to be where you could intervene if Sidwell was under threat. Is that fair?
That is very fair.
Okay. Gildas, you're seeing all this go on, and then you see both the ravens shoot out through the hole you've made in the thatch. What do you do in all of this?
I almost feel like I don't need to do anything. It's going so well. But I guess this would be the moment. If I'm going to make a big splash, this would be the moment. So I'm going to grab hold of the beam I've got up here to swing myself down, and as I do, I'm going to transform into Quinthrith.
So what I think people will see are the two ravens shooting out through the hole in the thatch. And as their eyes are there, the next thing they know, Quinthrith has dropped onto the table. Now, is this the table in front of the Lord? Is it in front of Godfrey? Is it on the other side where Madog and the Lord's men are?
I think it's going to be in front of the Lord.
Fine. So Quinthrith is in the building. So, and this is just a you do it. This is...
I have to tell of a cruelty that
you do.
My Lord had me do. And I think that, yes, on behalf of my Fae Lord, I think that we get this flashback. Okay, let's go ahead and give a revelation then here. I think we see, as I'm creeping down from the hill fort up above, my Lord coalescing around there in front of me and he says, you will take this to that priest and make sure that he has it to follow my will. And I think it's, the realization that through all of this, Gildas has known since he found out she was locked out that he had done it. He'd set it up.
When you say make sure the priest gets the first time round, sorry, the pennies dropped, not the flashback to just now, the flashback to when you, right. It all makes sense now. I'm sorry. So yeah, this was back in the distance when you helped Aethelburh out. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Oh, you cruel bastard. There was silence, then uproar at Hild's announcement, and then Quinthrith is here. Now, are you appearing as a ghostly Quinthrith or as a physical?
I don't think I can look ghostly, but I do look just as she looked when I saw her in the vision there. And it's much because it has to be something I saw.
Okay.
So I'm there as her, and standing above him.
What are you hoping is going to happen?
Well, I point down to him. You had me murdered. You cast me. It was, even if not your hand, it was your will that cast me from the ravine. You have taken my land. You have taken my honor. And you have taken my life.
I think, are you trying to convince other people to do something or him to do something?
I'm mainly trying to, I suppose I'm trying to convince people to grab him. Actually, no, more exciting. I want him to admit it. I'm trying to convince him to admit his guilt.
Okay, then you are going to roll plus subtle. And I think, it seems bizarre that currently you are laboring under the burden of lust and the temptation of wrath. And yet you will still get +1 extra on this dice.
Yes. So, yes. because well, is this do? What is this?
This is ask someone to do. I forgot what I called it. Do as
Do
you
as
ask.
you ask.
When
so,
you give a mortal NPC a reason to do as you ask, roll plus subtle.
So I'll be
you-
rolling with +3.
Uh,
Yes. Oh my. Okay. Well, let's. Here we go. Oops, I rolled one of them. Let me roll the other. Damn it, that was a 1. There we go with the other one. Get that. Oof. 4. That's a 7.
So
Let's see what that ends up being. Is it worth me doing my reputation? It takes more time than a insist on doing it their way. They'll need someone else. Let's go with the 7 to 9. We'll stick with it.
okay, so they will do it, but they choose one from. It takes more time than you intended. They insist on doing it their way. They will need someone else's help. I think that they will insist on doing it in their way, by which Bardwell pushes his chair back and stands and says, "The spirit speaks the truth. But I did it because she had worshipped the old gods and was no longer fit to be lady in this hall." Which is actually kind of true. Cennus, I haven't asked you for a while what you're doing in all this apparent chaos.
Yeah, what am I doing? Other than waiting to see how this plays out and who needs to be hit first, hardest. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting to see how this plays out. I don't think that my intervention as a Christian, I'm here to make sure that what's right happens, but you need to work it out first,
Okay, so watching brief. Hild, you set these events in motion. What do you do when Quenthrith appears?
Yeah. What I want to use that advantage to try to get the nephew. And I will say, if you ever wanted your family lands back, now is the time.
Okay, so I think you're asking him to do something, aren't you?
Yes.
So you're rolling plus subtle, but you're rolling with advantage.
All right. -1. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Ooh. 7 - 1, a 6.
Oh no, surely not.
She overplayed her hand.
Okay. On us, right. I think at this point,
I mean, you could invoke your reputation, perhaps.
you could.
Now what? But my What is
yeah.
invoking your
How do you make a
reputation?
reputation as an outlaw work?
Oh, I should know. He hired me.
And
That's
what's
true.
the reputation let me do when I invoke it?
So if you invoke your reputation, you can increase the outcome by 1 step. So your failure would move to success.
Okay.
All it does is cost you either blood in the shape of a wound or another debt to Odin.
Okay. Yeah, let's okay. No, this is cool. Because there's also the gift is something else. The gift is not reputation. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And I'll say that. I'll say well, how does that I'm kind of going to the guy and I'm saying you can, if you want to make your act, do it now. I'm all for invoking my reputation, but I don't know how my reputation gives that any more credence, kind of thing.
I think that is what Ferret suggested, which is that you are speaking from experience here. You are an outlaw. You were paid to kill the wife. You know that Godfred was offered the chance to do away with the wife, and so you can tell him the truth. He paid me to do it because you wouldn't.
Oh man, I'm scared. All right, she does it. All right, Eadric, are you happy? Are you happy? Do you get to check some sort of super box? I admitted it. But she whispered it. You know, she like whispered, you know, she's like, you know, she says it, now's your time. And he's just like, get out of my face. And she's like, because he asked me and I did it.
And on 7 to 9, they will do it, but they will choose one from. It takes more time than you'd intended. They insist on doing it their way. They will need someone else's help. He will act, but not if Madog stands by his lord. He's going to sit this out. He doesn't want to end up losing half his men to Madog and his men, because they are outnumbered here. He needs to know that Madog will sit this out. What do you do, Hild? No, actually, let me find out first. Gildas, that's gone on. You're still on the table. He's gone back and admitted it, but provided this reasoning. What does Gildas do?
I don't think I mind lying. Lying doesn't bother me
You're a
when I
Fae.
owed. Right.
Yeah.
I love lying. So then, as he says, you know, the old gods said unfit for this hall. Then I'll lift my head back. You would speak of me even after you killed me in such disrespect. Oh, Woden, grant me your gifts that I might strike the eyes from this faithless man. And I'm going to turn into a raven and peck his eye out.
Wow.
Whoa. So, you know, Hild is like, wait, he gets to peck his eye out, but I don't get to?
Now, that's all great, but you can only use glamour once per session.
I picked up as my advance second use of glamour.
Oh my goodness me.
Cagey.
You
Cagey.
cunning devil, you. My goodness me. And so she turns into a raven and goes for him. I think I'm prepared to have you take one of his eyes before he bats you away. Yeah?
It's mostly for effect anyway, so.
Of course it is. I'm slightly speechless at that one.
I'm not.
And Aelfgar stands and says, again, Woden speaks. Murderer!
I have a single question for the MC.
Go ahead.
Is Bardawulf expecting me?
I think his attention is elsewhere.
Okay. And my weapon was hidden, so it was not taken from me. And I think with the priest screaming out, Woden has spoken, and I am going to both give into temptation to wrath, but the debt will go immediately back as my other move. I give my god a debt to charge to danger recklessly.
This just keeps building.
But I just said Woden has spoken, and I think Eadric scream just says, then Woden will act. And he steps forward and slams his cudgel with the nails in it into the other eye.
Oh my God.
Okay, look, I'm going. You're going to get loads of pluses on this in terms of what you do, but you do need to confront a foe with violence.
I am going to confront a foe with violence, but I'm using that debt for that move of mine to get advantage on this.
Of course you are.
Let's see, they're all selected. That is a 12.
That is a 12. Okay. So on a 12, you inflict harm as established, which I can't remember what it is for the cudgel.
It's 1 harm, but +2 because he's not expecting me.
Okay, he's certainly not. So you inflict 3 harm on this man who is unarmored because he's in his hall. who would come after him in his hall. On 10 plus, choose one from the first list of bullet points, but because of the 12, you can select also one of the, you can add the other bullet points to the list.
Ooh, so do I only get the 12 plus, or do I get the 10 plus and a 12 plus?
No, the 12 plus adds things to the list.
Then I will inflict grievous damage, twice the normal harm, 6.
He's certainly blinded, and I think that he is dead. And Sidwell jumps up. Godfrey jumps up. Hild is next to Godfrey, where she's been having the conversation. Madog gets up. Cennus is standing next to Madog.
And I hold out a hand as I guess people like look in shocked silence. Maybe one of the guards draws their sword, and I say, "Hold. Woden has spoken. To kill your wife is a crime against all gods."
And there is uproar. No one knows whether they should hit someone. Cennus is trying to add some calm to the situation. Do as you ask or face danger, Cennus, to kind of be heard above the hubbub.
I think do as you ask.
Fine.
And I think I'm speaking with faith. I ask someone to do as I ask by invoking my belief.
You do.
So roll steel. And as much as it would probably make sense to roll advantage, I'm also kind of interested in what happens if I fail, right? So I won't stack it too high. But that is 11.
And Madog, I think, will stand up and calm his men. And Godfrey says, "No, hold. Gildas, I'm assuming that you're up in the rafters again, where the raven is gone.
Yes, I think that as I've been batted and all this has gone down, I think I will make one more circle around the roof as I scream in ravenly fury, and I'm getting out.
And are you staying in raven form? What I'm interested in is raven or not, in the hall or out of the hall.
I am getting out of the hall, out the hole in the roof, and coming down to the outside, changing back so I can come in and help where we might need it.
Fine. And I guess then, Gildas, we'll see you do that, and then we'll hear a scream from inside. And it's the scream of Elfgar saying, "She is not satisfied." Cennus, I'm going to call in one of the debts you owe the Christ God. Because, of course, although Quenthrith has been freed, as a pagan, she's been denied the kingdom of heaven. And she is materializing, as she did on your first arrival here, in the fire pit. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm dumbfounded by this event. Yes, I'm fine with that. I'll erase a debt from God.
And she throws herself, the spirit throws itself at Sidwell. And Sidwell falls over, clutching her throat.
I would like to defend Sidwell.
Fine. So confront the spirit with violence. Have you still got your enemy of God, or have you passed that on?
I do have my enemy of God.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess I will use the enemy of God here, which gives me gain advantage when I confront them.
What vision do you get just before this happens to identify the enemy of God?
I think it is I don't know what vision I get, actually. I think it is that as she leaps towards Sidwell, it flickers, and like reality itself seems to flicker, and there's like it's just darkness, and there's a light shining upon Sidwell. That this is God's plan, that the baby must live.
So go for it. Confront a foe with violence.
Oh well, I got 12, but without the advantage even, and without my steel added.
I might as well go home. Oh, I am at home. So, inflict harm because I'm assuming that because you're using enemy of God, you can hurt this spirit.
Okay.
So you will inflict harm as established, which is 2, I think.
I am just barehanded, I think, or with my knife.
Oh, of course you are. Yeah. So it's just the 1. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
But then look at your bullet points. Take your pick.
Yeah. I ensure someone else is out of danger for now.
Fine. So you have attracted the spirit's attention, and the spirit, from strangling Sidwell, you swipe at it, and it leaps at you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To wrestle you down, or to wrestle with you, swirl around you. Do you want to describe, Eadric? Tell me what this ghostly combat looks like, because you're on an instruction to look after Sidwell, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I was unmuted and didn't know. I think Eadric is pulls the is pulling the club out and races to Sidwell's side, but he's keeping his eye on this the entire time as he's getting to her, and it's like the knife will go towards the spirit, and like how it got lucky that one time, it doesn't seem to be getting lucky again. It's like it'll dissipate just before the hit, and then reappear just to I think push or pull Cennus in a direction that it's just an unnatural fight all around. Fine. And Eadric gets close to Sidwell and puts his hand on her chest. Can you breathe? Is everything okay?
And she looks up in complete panic. She's never been assaulted by an unquiet spirit before. And what do you help her to her feet and try to get her, away from the table? What do we see?
Ooh, yeah, I think he is. He just will put a hand under her arm and start helping get her out. Lead her past Madog to get another line of defense between them.
So yeah, round the back of that side of the table. Fine. Gildas, you heard the scream. What do you do?
I'll run in.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Hild, what have you started?
So she Hild actually has some plans now. She thinks, could she help this nephew? Actually, I'm going to use my gift. Your God sometimes grants you insight into the intentions of others.
Okay, so either pay a debt or offer them a wound.
Wounds are for those who can't handle debts. That's what I say. And what I want to know, and I don't know how this, can she get in good with this nephew?
Okay.
Hild is thinking, can she somehow help this nephew get back the lands, and maybe she's the new lady?
Well, then let's start with you rolling plus soul.
All right.
To invoke your gift.
All right. 8.
Flat 8. 7 plus, you will get an insight. And I'll come to you in a moment about the details. On 7 to 9, GM chooses one from you attract unwelcome attention. Your gift has a broader effect than you desired. Your gift takes more from you than you expected. Choose disadvantage or mark wounded. I think I'm going to go with that last one because it's simplest. Do you mark wounded or do you accept disadvantage?
You know, it's Hild. I think she is disadvantaged. You know, that's
She is kind of perpetually at some disadvantage. So
Yeah.
just so I'm clear, which person are you focusing the request for insight on?
the nephew.
The
Godfrey,
nephew.
is it Godfrey? Is that his name?
Godfred.
Yeah,
So you want an insight. What is the word? What's the wording of the move? You want an insight into the intentions of others. Yes? Godfred's intention is to kill Sidwell because then the land will devolve back to him. Yeah?
Right. And okay, cool.
I'll come back to you in a moment to what you're going to do with that information with that disadvantage sitting on your shoulder. Eadric, you've moved Sidwell back into a corner of the hall. Madog is I think focused on Cennus actually, because we know that Madog owes Cennus a debt. And so I think Cennus is going to be focused on, Madog will focus on Cennus. The two groups of warriors, the large Bardwolf one and the smaller group of Godfred's warriors, are kind of eyeing each other dangerously across the hall and wondering which one of them are going to break for their weapons first. And of course, that's when Gildas bursts open the door with his spear in hand to see all this before him. Gildas, what are you going to do? Tyler, I think you've frozen.
Muted too.
Yeah, no, I think he's probably frozen.
Oh, he's moving for me.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's moving
Yeah,
for
he
me. He's
moved.
just muted.
Yeah, he's moving for me, but yeah, now he's frozen for me.
No, nope.
Now he jumped.
Right.
That was like a horror
You're
movie
muted,
move.
Tyler.
Sorry, I got locked up there.
Fine. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
We can, and you are moving as well, which is really reassuring.
Okay.
So what do you do?
Okay. Holy crap, this is a mess. So, I see that Cennus is wrestling with the spirit, I believe, right? I'm going to rush over there to aid my friend Cennus. This is my first thought. And so I think that, I'm not going to, the spear probably is of no help here, but I'm going to move over and we're going to kind of see that green glow on my hand as I reach to touch the spirit. And I'm going to magic at her.
Then let's have you do
and
that.
say, go to your rest, spirit.
Fine. So confront a foe with magic. Roll plus steal.
Yes.
Of course, wrath will have an effect here.
Oof, that's true. Well, I rolled an 11.
Oh, Jesus.
So I will succeed.
You will succeed. Yes, you will.
Let's see how much. 11, 10, 12.
Okay, so that's a pretty good success. So you inflict harm as I can't remember. Did we select which one of those characteristics, extra characteristics, applied? Was it extra harm?
Yes.
Or...
No armor.
Ignore armor.
Armor doesn't apply.
Fine. So you do one harm normally, but you have those bullet points under the confront move to choose from.
I said, spirit, go on to your rest, and so I'm going to. My fury drives the foe from the scene.
And what does that look like? As the green, the glowing green hand reaches in towards or into this spirit.
I think that I'm thinking I'm touching, but then my hand continues through. And I think that we see that glow sort of encompass the spiritual body. And I I think I recognize that in part she's held here by her Fae bonds. And so I think in the true old language, I say, go to your rest beneath the hill.
And she just... and that's when Godfred charges at Sidwell Eadric. What do you do?
I'm going to have to stand in the way.
Then confront a foe with violence.
Oh, this is going to go poorly this time, I bet. But we will see.
Well, I've been hoping for a roll that was less than 10 all evening.
Well, you almost get it. That is an 8.
So on 7+, you inflict harm as established. So what harm? You're just using a knife or your cudgel?
It's just 1 still, yeah.
Okay. Now, the thing about him is he's still wearing the mail he arrived in, his hauberk. So that will absorb the cudgel harm. And he chooses one from force you to where you suffer disadvantage, wrong foot you and flee, inflict harm on you, take something other than your life from you. He pushes you to one side and he has Sidwell at his mercy. Cennus, the apparition has gone, and looking down on you with the glowing eyes is Gildas. What do you do?
Where is Godfred and Eadric at the moment?
I think it's fair for me to ask you to look about you at this point, because I think that
Well, I would like to spend my last hold of divine intervention.
Go ahead.
To be unerringly led towards this, to be somewhere important when I need to be.
So what? So hang on. You can't spend it. God can spend the debts.
No.
You're
divine
hold.
intervention. Spend
Sorry,
this now and yeah.
Of course. Yeah, sorry, I'd forgotten all about that. Yeah, fine. So at the corner of your eye, you can see Eadric's been pushed to one side, and Godfred has her by the throat and he's got his knife. What do you do? And you can be where you need to be.
How do I be where I need to be in a way that's like, divine intervention, I suppose. I think
preternatural speed, agility.
I was going to suggest that as I step forward and Godfred's men step in front of me, like the roof where Gildas weakened it before with his hole collapses down in front of them and knocks them out. And I just step through, and as he goes to strike, I'm going to try and grab his arm.
I think that's a bit much. What I'm prepared to do is to have some of the thatch come down into the fire pit, and it flames up, creating a barrier between them on that side of the room and you and him on this side of the room.
Oh yeah, when I said knock them down, I meant like stumble, not killed or.
So they're at disadvantage until they can get rid of that fire.
Yeah.
And Godfred is kind of going to kill her. What do you do?
I grab his arm and bend it back behind his head.
Okay, that sounds more like face danger than confront a foe.
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So confront a foe with by face danger with steel.
Sure. That is a 10.
Of course it is. And so you have the hand with the knife. You twist it. The knife drops, and he lets Sidwell go and spins towards you.
Yeah.
Hild. It's been a while, Hild. You saw what he was going to do, and he's just done it. What are you going to do now?
Well, Hild's thinking that she finally met someone dumber than her. If Godfrey just goes off and tries to kill this woman, and so Hild, where is Madog?
Madog is not far from where Cennus is, which is not far from where Godfred is.
Okay.
And the advantage is because you were up near Godfred, at the high table, the conflagration from the fire pit isn't an obstacle for you.
Yeah, so what Hild's thinking is this woman, if she'll renounce her lands, will Godfrey listen to reason? And so she grabs Madog, and maybe Cennus is right there too. Oh, you're Cennus, you're muted. And so
Yeah,
what
yeah,
she
he's
does
right
is
there.
she shakes them both and says, the guy just wants his lands that are rightfully his. Have her renounce them, and tell her the Christian God demands it.
Honor the deal, Madog. The deal that was offered by the murderer, by Bardewulf. Return some lands and live in peace. Let there be no more deaths tonight.
Do you
Yeah. What he said.
do you call in the remaining debt?
I
you have
call
on
in the
Madog?
remaining debts with Madog, yes.
And Madog he'll join you in holding Godfrey down when he tries to talk sense into him.
Yes, I'm willing to try and talk sense into Godfrey physically if needed.
Of course. Eadric, you stumble back, but now you're back on your feet. Godfrey is restrained. Sidwill is cowering in the corner, thinking, this isn't what I was marrying into.
I would
What do you
like
do?
to make Sidwell do as I ask. I go to her and whisper to her, I have been by your side at every moment I could be. Trust me. Come with me and I will keep you safe.
And that's a perfectly legitimate bit of leverage. I'll keep you safe. So roll with subtle.
That's a 10.
We'll worry where you've taken her shortly.
We will indeed.
And I think as the fire dies down, Madog has got Godfrey down. He's saying, "Don't do anything stupid, fool. This can be managed. There is weregild to pay, and I will convince the lady that she should pay it in land to you." And I think that by the time the fire dies down, both groups of warriors have got their weapons and are ready to leap over the fire pit at one another. But I think that Godfrey says, hold, and backs up to be with his men so that you can have a kind of proper conversation. Gildas, Sidwell has been taken by Eadric out the back of the hall. Eadric, where do we see you?
We are out of the back of the hall and we are headed out of the settlement. Will be.
Fine. So where are you going, Eadric? I mean, are you just going to that?
The hill. I owe a debt to a lady.
Okay, I'm going to call a 5-minute break there. In fact, let's make it on the hour because it's easier to remember.
Yeah,
I will.
I knew he was going to do that.
I suddenly realized the chicken. Okay, so
I almost feel like Hild has turned more like you guys, and you've turned more into Hild.
I'll pause the recording. Back on the hour, yeah. We're back from our final break, and I guess that we start with just seeing Eadric, with Sidwell's hand, not quite dragging her, but making swift progress up to the hill fort.
Oh, she's on the back of my donkey.
Of course she is. Much swifter. And I guess Gildas, I think that Gankana whispers to you, and he whispers, your friend is taking my baby to that bitch.
Is that so?
Do something about it.
Yes, my lord.
You can reduce the debt you owe Gankana by 1. Do you rush out the hall on your own, Gildas? or as a degree of calm negotiation. At some point, somebody's going to notice that the only person who can actually give permission for this deal is not in the room. But at this point, it feels like Madog and Godfred are just, dancing around one another politely.
I suppose I'm still, I don't know if I am or not. I've seen Cennus has jumped over to deal with those two at the moment, hasn't he?
None of you are occupied. Madog and Godfred are kind of talking while their men kind of relax, so this doesn't turn into slaughter. And it looks like Godfred is prepared to listen to this deal that Sidwell, as the widow, would cede some land to Godfred if he just went away. That's the nature of the deal.
I will come up to Cennus. Eadric has taken Sidwell to the hill fort. I must go. And turn around and start leaving.
Yeah.
Cennus, Hild, do you stay or do you go?
I feel I must go. For all of her things, she is a Christian woman.
Hild, what about you?
Hild has plans to try to somehow. She sees. She wants to gold digger with Godfrey. She wants to somehow, because she feels like if he went to try to kill Sidwell, he's probably dumb enough that I could. I could probably.
I can see that as a longer term deal.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think in the moment, he's not going to be at all interested in you. He's talking to Madog.
All right. Well, that's in the back of her head. And then she is like, Eadric's gonna transfer this woman's soul to the Fae? He's dumber than I thought too. Oh God, I gotta see this. I gotta rub his nose in this one.
And so all three of you make your way up to the hill fort. So you will arrive, obviously, after Eadric. Yeah? Eadric, you come out, we've said there's a full moon because we had ravens highlighted against it. You come up onto the kind of flatter top of the hill fort. There's that big copse of trees within which you found an entrance to the other world. What's the plan?
I think he will get Sidwell to come with him to where he found the gateway before and call out to that bitch that he comes with presents, which she can decide if that means her presence or just Sidwell's presence or presents.
And I think that is the point when forgotten. Just bear with me a moment. Eadburh, the mischievous alewife, steps out of the shadows with a spear and says, "Where are you taking my lady? Hand her over.
Your lady deserves to be treated to the world she was promised. I only bringing her to where she deserves to be."
And Eadburh is going to call in the debt that they hold on you.
She would.
So you can refuse to honor a debt and roll plus subtle minus the 1, which is the debt that you owe her.
Oh, this is wrath, so I've got to. That is an 8.
Well, there you go. So on an 8, either honor the debt or increase it by 1.
Fuck it, increase it by 1.
Okay. What do you say to her that convinces her to back off?
Do you know how to use that spear? I barely know how to use my cudgel, and I took out the life of your lord. It would be a horror if 2 untrained warriors led to the death of Sidwell.
And you see there's a waver, and she looks at you and says, "You owe me," and runs away. You go into the copse, yeah?
Yeah.
And what do? Do you what's the deal?
I'm going to I think like we see like there's that expected thing of going down that hallway, him doing the trick where he remembered last time to get to the room, and but he will I think that he's talking to the Ice Fae, but then like the words finally come around.
And Sidwell is saying, where are you taking me? Where are we?
And it's like we are where you belong now. You have crossed into the world of the Fae on your own volition before. This is where you will come now.
I don't know what you mean. I've never been here.
You will be allowed to leave. Do not worry.
I'm frightened, Eadric. I'm frightened.
So am I.
I think that you've got her this far on the basis of the last, convincing her. I think she needs convincing to go further, because once she crosses that threshold, it's complete darkness. She looks behind her. The moonlit copse is not there.
Yeah. So I guess I'm facing danger with subtle.
I think you're asking her to do something for you with subtle. Yeah.
Yep, that's fine. That is a 10.
So on a 10, you gain advantage as a result of their help. So you actually have advantage in whatever's going to happen next. And I think just for completeness, when Gildas, Cennus, and Hild arrive at the top of the hill fort, you will see the donkey tethered beside those stones. So you know absolutely where Eadric has gone. What do you do? Or need I ask?
We must proceed.
Okay. And so you go into the darkness. The strange thing, Eadric, is that once you convince her that everything's going to be fine, this tunnel isn't a tunnel. It's a tunnel in your head. You're in the Fae Lady's hall. And she's sitting on an attractive chair, stroking the chicken.
And I was like, I have come to repay a debt. A Christian for a Christian. I take it you do not know how to play nursemaid to half human children?
I usually expect them to look after mine, not the other way around.
I will stay and play nursemaid to your children and bring them to the age you see fit. If, upon their birth, Sidwell goes free.
I think that's probably the time when Gildas, Cennus, and Hild enter the hall. Just in time to hear that and to see the lady as she just holds the chicken, looking at Eadric and looking at Cennus and looking at Hild and looking at Gildas and then looking at Sidwell. And she looks at Sidwell and looks to Eadric and says, Eadric, you offer me service until this woman births her child.
Your children, not hers.
And she kind of walks over to Sidwell and lays her hand on Sidwell's abdomen, and then her eyebrows go up and she looks at Gildas, and she knows that this is a half-Fae child. Gildas, what say you?
My lady, I would prefer that my children be in the mortal world.
But why, Gildas?
That I might see them.
You could always visit them here.
When I return, I will have to return to my master's court. Therefore, I do not wish to return.
And she smiles and says, you dislike him as much as I do. Admit it. He can't hear you here.
I certainly dislike him as much as you, if not more.
Think of the spite, Gildas. Think of the grating pain that you could inflict on him. Hild, what do you do?
Hild's kind of, yeah, I think she just kind of stands next to Cennus and kind of nudges him and is just like,
Cennus?
Cennus is eyes narrowed, bronze spear in hand, eyes just darting back and forth between Eadric and looking. You know what? I would like to look about me, in fact.
Then go ahead. You look about you. Roll plus sense.
Plus steal due to my wily.
Of course, yeah.
But that is still only a 6, so I do nothing.
Hild steps away from Cennus.
Cennus, it's almost as though she hears your thoughts and she looks at you, looks at your feet, where the ground around you has grown 2 mounds. Hold your feet still. Do not get excited, Christian. You will be at disadvantage in your first action if you try to get free. Yeah?
Yeah, and I will simply say, you know, these souls are not bargaining chips.
You know, I should have said, do you want to invoke your reputation?
No, I don't. I don't think I do, because I want to see what the others do, you know. Okay. But I'm ready to just be, you know.
Okay.
You choose wrong, I come after you.
So Hild has drifted to one side. Eadric has put the deal on the table. Gildas.
I would serve you, lady. Yes. Yes, if you will take me and take my children as your ward, fosters, then I will serve you. But my duty remains still to walk amongst the mortal world. I'll look to the other 3. We are tasked with much, but protecting my children, for that I would serve you, lady.
And I think that, therefore, you can reduce the debt that you owe her.
Before I do that, after all this is said, Sidwell, all of this talk and none of it is to you.
I don't understand what's happening. And this is clearly a woman, you know, she's underhand, she's manipulative, but she is so far out of her depth.
It means for 9 months you'll be kept in Fae luxury until your children are birthed. Then you will go back into the world and have to find your way.
And have your way, and leave your children to the Fae.
My children? She probably doesn't know she's pregnant. It was only 24 hours ago. And then she looks at Gildas, and cogs begin to mesh. 9 months. And I think she realizes that there's nowhere to run. There's no exit she can see. She, as from her point of view, she's trapped, and she says, I have no options. I
choose. Make a choice. Even if you feel you have none.
And you could stay here with them if you wished. I'll look up to the lady.
And I think probably the lady will gesture, and in the shadows, because we described this as a great kind of shadowy space, I think, and she'll gesture, and a fire pit lights the space, and there are. It looks now like you're looking into a sumptuous hall. The boards are laid with rich food. There are furs. There's jewelry hanging from pegs on every piece of wood. And she looks back to Sidwell and says, I would let you take something with you when you left. And Sidwell, now cogs are moving slightly differently for Sidwell. And she says, then I will agree.
Well, and I would like to say, you will never see our father's halls, or neither will your children. And I would like to try to convince them. The reason is they will be damned in the eyes of the Lord.
Okay,
and I think I'm definitely speaking with faith, right?
I think you are.
Oh, guess it's our favorite dice roll of the night. It's a 12 plus, even with my steel.
They are in awe of you and owe you a debt. And she shakes Eadric, her hand free from Eadric, and runs to throws herself into Cennus's arms. Sidwell owes you a debt. And she, I will not barter my immortal soul. Now what happens? Eadric?
Okay, 2 questions. My cudgel still has the bronze spikes. Is the lady expecting me?
I think you're not behind her. She's got all of you in sight, and I think you're in her hall. I don't think that you'll surprise her.
Gotcha. I think.
I mean, she may be surprised, but I don't think in the sense of the move you're going to surprise her.
Gotcha.
That doesn't mean you wouldn't get the benefit of rushing headlong into danger.
No, I think Eadric will just then. Oh, this. I think he then looks at the Fae Lady and just sighs. There are other ways to get half Fae children, my lady.
Hild, you've been kind of watching this to and fro. Can we get some sense of what you're thinking in this?
I'm thinking that like Hild doesn't even want to be here. All this talk and mortal souls, and she feels like she finally got on good terms with Woden, she hopes. And this stuff is just too, so she's kind of perplexed. Let me think here. So she owes this lady a debt. Okay. How about this hill fort is surrounded by Godfrey's lands? Maybe, we'll see. What she says is, I guess what she proposes is that the Fae have messed with this town long enough, and she wants to propose the Fae to stay away, and that the town will offer some sort of offering to keep the Fae away from the town.
I'm wondering, the only way to convince a supernatural creature is to have a debt on them.
Yeah.
And currently she has a debt on you.
Yeah.
So she'll listen as if to say, why should we? Gildas, what are you thinking? Because it looks like Sidwell has changed her mind and gone with God.
Cennus, the children, they will be half mine, and you and your church have very definite views upon the souls or lack thereof of my people.
It will be half a child of God.
So only half damned. Lovely.
One of them a Christian, one of them a pagan.
We are all damned, Eadric. This is what we do in our lives that decides our final end.
I'm just wondering, is there a solution around the twins?
Yeah,
There are two children, she says. One could sit in the halls of your God. One would stay with me. And Gildas.
Sidwell, you do not have to stay here. Nor would I tear a child from its mother's breast. But these children are half mine, and this is my lands. I would have my children know their lands.
I think this is the last round. I think if Gildas can convince her, then she will go with the deal. She will risk their immortal souls rather than hers, because I think she's underhand enough to want to get both of this away. Gildas?
I think I want to propose at this that, like me, they will share their time above with you and below with me.
So
the Persephone solution.
So winter with her, spring with you, summer with her, autumn with you?
Yes.
That seems like a reasonable deal that the underhanded Sidwell might see personal advantage in. So go ahead.
I suggest as well that they're twins, so that like it's literally like the child swaps, like one to the other.
Oh,
the
that
other,
is so
the other.
cool. There's always
excellent.
one child.
All right.
Oh, yes. Oh,
So
I'm not going to make you roll for that. That is too elegant a solution.
Wonderful.
I think we'll go with that. And so will the Fae Lady. So Sidwell will agree. And
I'll agree.
You...
I will agree if Gildas calls in a debt.
Gildas, would you call in a debt on Cennus?
I'll look over Cennus. This solution is proper, and I would know my children. Will you please?
Yes, Gildas, be a good father, as I know you can be a good man.
Okay, so Cennus, only owe 2 debts, it appears, to Gildas. And the Fae Lady, unless you have any other plans. Now, Eadric, I'm still not quite clear whether chicken plays into this before we tie up this.
Oh, well, you see, I was going to trade Sidwill for Cennus's debt to the lady and then stay with the chicken in
Oh,
the
that's
hall
right.
for the rest of my life.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, so the rest of you can go. And Hild, Cennus, and Gildas are again walking in the dark. And you walk, feeling your way in this complete darkness, only 10 steps, and then you hear the crying of a baby. And then the crying of another baby. And you emerge back in the hall, 9 months having passed. And Sidwill has one child. The Fae Lady has the other child. Gildas, are they male or female?
I think they're female.
And I think it's only appropriate that you get to name one of them, and Sidwill will name the other, though they will interchange those names. Jack in the country, Ernest in town.
I don't obviously know, Drew.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
But it's the one that I will be in Ogman will be Hope.
Fine. And so I think that we'll see you going down the hill towards the settlement. Yeah. And the settlement is in has had 9 months with a lost lady. And so Godfred is ruling because everyone has written Sidwell off. Madog has sworn his loyalty, his oath to Godfred as the only remaining heir. And then out of the blue comes Sidwell. And I just feel that's where we have to leave it. Yeah, because I there's the second series set up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think we're better off epiloguing our way out of this, to be honest, at this point. So we will do end of session EP XP just in case. Let me go to Eadric. I don't think you invoked your commoner reputation, but I think you did address a challenge with common sense.
I'll agree to that.
Yeah. So give yourself an XP. Hild, you did invoke your reputation. Did you address a challenge with guile? Do you know, I think you did.
Yeah.
I think in your manipulation of Godfred, that was an example of guile, because it certainly worked. So I think you can have one for each of those. Cennus, you didn't invoke your reputation, but you certainly set out to protect an innocent at various points. So you can have one for that. Gildas, I can't remember. Did you invoke your reputation in the end?
I did not end up.
But I think you did put yourself. I think you did address a challenge with deception.
Oh, I think I did that. Yeah.
And the choice now is whether you want to engage with the epilogue move, or whether you just want to describe what we see. Because I don't think I want Eadric and the chicken in a fairy hill for the rest of their lives. I think 9 months was enough. Yeah, and I think that the debt that you owed the Fae Lady goes across that 9 months of Sidwell's confinement. Does that seem fair? So let's go round and start with Gildas. Gildas, do you want to engage the epilogue move, or do you just want to describe an epilogue?
Well, I mean, let's engage your rolls.
Okay. So you roll +1 per debt you are owed, -1 per debt you owe.
Oh dear, then I'm going to be in terrible shape.
So what does that look like?
It's going to be shit horrible.
Well, -3 is the maximum.
It's going to probably be -3 then, yeah.
I mean, a quick skim suggests yes, it is.
Yeah.
So you're going to roll at -3.
All righty.
So go ahead.
That's a 4.
Oh my. So on a 10+, you're a renowned hero. On a 6-, you're a tragic hero. which dream has been shattered, and or what future can't you escape, and or what haunts you?
I think we see that my lord has not given up his hold on me, and still lurks there, constantly calling to me. But what is probably worse is that he's decided that if I denied him these children he thought he would get possession of, that he will do his best to deny me. And since it is not easy to deny me both, he keeps me constantly busy that one of them I am never there to see.
Oh, that is tragic. Oh, that is tremendously tragic. Thank you for that one. Moving along, Cennus, do you want to just describe it, or do you want to roll with the epilogue move?
I want to roll.
Go on then.
I think I'm at minus. Does it include the debts to gods?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, that's not great then. Yeah. So I'm at -5 on that side. I'm at +6 on the other side, so it's a 1 overall.
+1. So roll +1.
A
10. This seems so unfair. Cennus, on a 10+, you are a renowned hero. Which dream do you achieve, and or what golden future awaits you, and or what fear can you put behind you? Bishop.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's Bishop, but I think what it is that we cut to these girls, switching back and forth between spending their time in the mortal world. You see them with a knight who's put aside his sword and is teaching them to read, and teaching them the ways of compassion in the lamb and so forth.
Every month they should be with Gildas. They end up being taught to read with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about Hild?
Yeah. Hild has a 0.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. Yep.
So roll +0, Hild.
All right. Let's see what we get. Oh, a 6. Oh no.
Tragic hero.
No.
Which dream has been shattered? What future can't you escape? What haunts you?
You did get married to Gottfried.
Yeah, let me read this again. Oh man. Shattered, future can't escape, what haunts you? Okay, what we'll say is Hild what will happen is we'll say she does, this is her brief moment, and that she kind of does go back down into the dregs of society where she came from. What we'll say was her tragic flaw was that
Which one are you going to pick?
Yeah. Well, I think what it is like maybe she never learned oh, how about this? How about this? Gildas had actually manipulated her. That Gildas had, right, he had manipulated with the stone, and we'll say there's a scene of Bardewulf talking to Hild, and then if you want to go for this, Gildas, a Fae. We'll say a Fae Bardewulf turns into a Fae. And
so he didn't actually, it was a Fae in disguise that sent you.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so she had been manipulated by the Fae. For one brief moment, she thought she was understanding the world, and then back down.
Oh, such tragedy. Finally, Eadric.
I'm going to be rolling with a -3. Let's see what I get. That is a 5. That is a 5. Yep.
Again, sadly, which dream has been shattered? What futures can't you escape? What haunts you?
I think what it is that Eadric, we see him like beside Cennus a lot, helping these girls throughout their lives. He helped raise them. Like, I think he literally goes like back and forth between the Fae court, like, to help them both in their lessons and all that. And
he's the go-between. He's the one who carries out the exchange.
yeah, and then one day I think he's coming out of the Fae hall, and there's this beautiful woman that we have seen from his past in those previews, but she's standing with a younger woman beside that looks like Eadric and her combined. So you could have were there for their lives, but not hers.
Oh, and the young woman looks at you and says, "Are you my father?"
And like an older Eadric is there, just
That's great. Thank you for that. I'd quite like a brief Roses and Thorns. I will, if it's okay with you, send you a link later, probably tomorrow now, actually, to a feedback form, just so you can fill in some playtest feedback. But Roses and Thorns. Let's go back the other way. Start with you, Sawyer.
Just about the system itself, it feels like a much better debt system than Urban Shadows does. I've not played second edition, but it feels clear. There's still some, I think, clunk to it, but like it's shaved off a lot that Urban Shadows did not to me.
I'll take that one.
And I think some of the moves, with the epilogue being tied to debts, it may be better to tie it to like the starting stat of the playbook, like maybe like or like if you have no debts to your gods at the end of this, roll that stat kind of thing. But from the people, I loved the twists and turns of this. I did not expect Hild to actually pay restitution. That was the biggest shock to me. But just the way this turned out felt very like this could have been a fairy tale. Like I could see this have gone passed down from the generations and been a fairy. It was really fun. I liked all the characters and the way it turned out.
No, that's great. Thank you. Moving along, Greg, any roses?
Yeah. System-wise, I love the setting. The setting's awesome. I like the debts a lot. And this is more where I'm coming from, but I find like physical harm like less compelling in story games. And so I would say it didn't have a problem, but I always like removing stuff, So I think having some sort of physical harm, but maybe it's like 3 things or something,
I know. I have to say that's what's running through my mind is that the risk I don't think is sufficiently high.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the debt system thing. I think the debts are great. Owing to your god. The one question I would have is if somebody tried to game it, where you just get more and more debts.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, God can have as many debts on you as you like. But if debts above 3 on anyone else, I'm thinking of making that 2. If you gain a debt on someone above 2, you would gain XP instead. So the debts between mortals would be currently they ceiling at 3, which I think is one too many. 2 I think feels about right. Because I'm struggling to see how you could end up spending 3.
Yeah, and I think that's actually good, having some sort of mechanism that just ties into the debts. That I think that's awesome. Let's see. I would say and I've kind of come from a place where I've drawn to games that have like less and less rules, you know, and so that's just where I'm coming from. I'm sure other people like the new Urban Shadows. I was like, this is cool, but they have like this piece over here, this piece over here, this piece over here. I like the experience where it's class based, invoke your reputation, put yourself at risk. The and then the one thing is the gift I always would forget about.
Ah,
The
is
gift,
that because of where it is on the sheet?
I think partly is, yeah, my guess is when I want to know my moves, I'm probably just, oh, moves, and then, you know, I'm not looking the gift. The one thing, yeah, so that's just, you know, I'd always forget about it, and I always want to use it, but then it doesn't fit in my brain. And
Fine.
then finally, this is just something that I think would be interesting is like the pagan Saxon, Christian Britain, like those, you know, this totally goes against, but like maybe, and I don't know, but like if there was being a pagan meant something to your character, like mechanically. And so, you know, maybe it's like the gift could be tied to that, right? If you're a
Okay.
Christian, you can do this. If you're a pagan, and that just naturally, I think it's interesting. It's like, oh, how did Christians see the world, and how did pagans like to act? And so,
No,
yeah,
that's interesting.
but
That's very
so,
interesting.
but yeah, and yeah, I think that's, yeah, but I like the system. You know, I think it's great. The death thing is awesome. You know, because I think that propels things like that. As far as the game or the session, it's funny. I found myself, you know, it's like, oh, maybe it takes me an hour to get going, and this time I never really felt like I, you know, there are a lot of blanks in my head, you know. But I did like how it I did like the thing where we had this like rudimentary criminal justice court going down. Uh, um, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with Hild and seeing where she went. You know, through the course of this game, I kind of thought of, you know, where she might end up, and it was fun. It's just going into the roles, right? Letting the roles lead the way. But
Okay.
yeah, Eadric, yeah, awesome. Cennus, I loved your like stone cold Christian, you know, that was awesome. And then Gildas, yeah, I trusted you less and less as the game went on. So I think you nailed it. So
Thank you for that. Will, any roses, any thorns?
Well, I loved the whole thing. It was great. You know, I loved all the settlement stuff. I loved building all of that. I know we didn't get to use some of the NPCs, but you don't know where they're going to be, right? And we could have used them in different ways as it went on, and it would especially live up over time. I think that was really good. It was cool playing based around an area as well. It made it for different things, you know, like a different pace and a different than previous Eotenweards, and you know, the monster of the week itself kind of principle. I really enjoyed using the debts. My personal feedback on the debts is that it's like Urban Shadows. People don't tend to really use them against each of the players for the most part. Also, they don't, you know, it never feels like you really need to hand them out because for the most part, people are working together.
Yeah, I mean the move that the bit of the move that's in there to try and encourage you is that if you call in a debt, someone can help you as if they rolled a 12.
Yes, yeah. I think every time we tried to help each other out, we ended up just rolling high anyways, though. So it never came up.
Never occurred.
But I think the 2-cap is a good tweak of it as well. Just to throw in with that one. I loved having another big duel with those guys and the whole like tragic kind of the cost of
Criminal justice.
Well, the cost of mercy, right? You know, and the merciful way is not always the way. But ultimately, I really like the epilogue move. I quite like that it's tied to debts personally. But I think that you have to. It just happened to play out that way for me, you know, like that I had a positive. I wasn't really thinking about it anyway, but like I think it does encourage it. it would encourage you to play with it more if you're ever thinking about your epilogues, but I don't think any of us were really thinking about our
No,
epilogues until the end, you know?
And I think, the way I'd envisaged it was that it would, in fact, be then a bit of a surprise when you do the sum.
Being the holier than thou Christian, it was very easy. Well, not very easy, but it felt natural to be racking up some debts from time to time, you know?
Yeah, and in 50 years, everyone will be a Christian. So,
Exactly. I know the long game. Yeah. But yeah, it was very cool. And I just want to say with the epilogue move, piety pays off because I was the only one with the good result. So faith was rewarded the entire time, guys.
So the Christ God has been listening throughout.
I like to think that I led you to Woden. So that's how it works.
Yeah, I was disappointed I couldn't find a way to get Woden to yank your chain, but there you go. Tyler, any roses and thorns?
Absolutely. First off, Will, I love the character. I thought it was really spectacularly envisioned all the way through. Then kind of after, like we talked about, you kind of suffered so much through the run. And then the Lord shone upon you the last session. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There was nothing but good dice rolls for you in this last one. But I love the character and how there was a lot of steel in his backbone. And I thought that was really interesting. That was well played. Greg, I thought Hild was really interesting. And where you talk about the journey, I think you really gave us a journey with the character. That was neat. She was big and bold and brassy, but we saw real character development. And it was cool to see like the reactions when Eadric would bring things in, or when Cennus, or to watch those develop and how you would internalize and show that out was really neatly done. That was really, really cool. Sawyer, seeing Eadric sort of had this almost martyr feel in a lot, especially as time went on. But to see the depth levels of it, like it wasn't like casting yourself off the cliff. It was always with good purpose and always had something well put behind it. It always made such good narrative sense where he was sacrificing a lot of things to help everyone. And that made something for that character just really endearing. I enjoyed watching a good person, not because they're directed by God or any sort of thing. Like it was purely a decent person in a dark time. And that's a cool character to play. You did a really grand job with that. For the game, I like the net system. I think it's neat. I can see where you're talking about cutting it down to the 2. That I've been playing Apocalypse World Burned Over, which has one of those when you reach a level, convert to XP. 2 might be your spot. I don't know. I don't know if 3 is too much. That's for you to think on. I don't know if I think 3 is too many. I think 3 would be my conversion spot. But I love that debt system. I like the moves. I think they're very evocative of the time. I wish we'd have gotten a chance to do a big battle just to see that field, just to get a chance to get a look at that. But reading through it, it was very interesting. I love the gifts. I think the gifts are super neat. I like the choice of wounding versus getting a debt pulled on you. I wounded a lot. I'll hit it thorns in a second where we're talking about wounds. But all around, I thought the moves were really, and the settlement setup. I love world build anyway, and I love creating that settlement. I think that's, I think having settlements doing 4 or 5 and then growing on to that next one, that makes a nice churn. It gives a real moment where you're changing. You get to develop stuff. I loved setting it up. Thought it was super, super cool. To go on to Thorns, I think that a game where we're going to have debts like this, especially when we look at the epilogue, there needs to be something in there so you can get debts on NPCs. There's, as far as I can tell, no way to push to gain debts on NPCs. And I think somewhere in there that could be, I think that helps with the dynamic. It also is something then that is do as you ask, get you one. Is that
On a 12 plus, I think, it gives they owe you a debt.
gotcha?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so there's a very high end one chance
yeah.
on there, but it then opens up that I liked the idea of being able to call somebody in using that if you don't have that as a resource that's fairly available, you're never going to get that chance to do it.
Yeah.
It's really just the setup off the settlement that you're going to get it from. So I would put a little more dynamic ability to get something on these NPCs. Going into where you're talking about wounds and harm and all of that, I don't know. Maybe in battle it would come up a lot more. Really, it doesn't feel like it's hard enough to get hurt. Especially when you start thinking there's some armor around, things like that. Now that could have just been us doing pretty darn well, but it didn't feel terribly dangerous.
Yeah, no, and I keep tinkering with it, and I haven't yet found that sweet spot, and I'm thinking of just starting from scratch, really, and having a different way of dealing with harm, or dealing with confront a foe, because you're right, it doesn't feel risky enough.
Especially since there's a lot of ways to kind of avoid taking a bunch of damage, like you can invoke, and there's ways to avoid a bunch of damage. So having, I think it's always a good tension point to have being able to be hurt horribly in there in the mix.
And I think the other thing is, I think it's too easy to get it back.
Yeah.
So I think there's something about, either there's something fundamental about it, or there's something about the balance between the risk of getting it and the ease of losing it. I
mean, conditions.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I've been thinking, I think that this is the best implementation mechanically, but it still doesn't serve purpose. And I think that's where I need to think about something different.
But it's all around very minor thorns, because I think the game itself is excellent.
Thank you for that.
Just really first rate.
So yeah, I will send you a link just asking you for if you've got the time to send me some solid feedback. But what from my point of view, that was a phenomenal series, because you really explored every corner of the rules, and played them with imagination, and that's all I can ask, and played them proactively. Because I think you have experience with these kind of games, and you were able to look at the moves and assess, not gaming it, but you were thinking, yes, then that would mean I could do this. So Eadric, when you surprised the Lord by rushing into danger, wallop. So folks, thank you very much. I've enjoyed running that as much as I've enjoyed any sessions in a while. And all I can say is thank you. So I'm going to stop the recording on that. Thank you. Wave bye-bye.